They're sitting there dying inside and feeling like their chest is going to cave in from how much they miss you. But instead of picking up the damn phone and telling you how they feel, they're staying silent like their life depends on it. This isn't mystery or strength. It's psychological terrorism against themselves and pure cowardice disguised as dignity. The pride protection fortress. Their silence isn't noble or respectful. It's their ego refusing to admit they fucked up and need you back. Reaching out would require them to acknowledge that their behavior drove you away, that their actions had consequences, and that they're not as self-sufficient as they pretend to be. Their pride would literally rather suffer in silence than admit they were wrong. They've built their entire identity around being the person who doesn't need anyone, and contacting you would shatter that carefully constructed image. They'd rather torture themselves with missing you than face the humiliation of admitting they actually need human connection and that they destroyed something valuable through their own stupidity. Their silence is them choosing their fake image over genuine love. They'd rather maintain their reputation as emotionally untouchable than risk looking vulnerable by admitting they miss someone. It's the most pathetic form of self-sabotage imaginable. Choosing ego protection over actual happiness. The control addiction withdrawal. They're staying silent because they're addicted to being the one who controls when and how contact happens. Reaching out first would put them in the vulnerable position of wanting something from you, and their psychology can't handle not being in the power position. They need you to crack first so they can maintain their illusion of superiority. Their silence is a manipulative power play designed to make you break first and come crawling back, proving that you need them more than they need you. They're willing to suffer through missing you, if it means maintaining their position as the prize that others pursue rather than the person doing the pursuing. This control addiction is so strong that they'd rather lose you completely than experience the vulnerability of reaching out and potentially being rejected. They're literally choosing the certainty of loss over the possibility of rejection, because rejection would damage their ego more than loneliness damages their heart. The rejection terror paralysis. Underneath all their tough independence is someone who's absolutely terrified of being told they're not wanted anymore. Their silence protects them from hearing confirmation that you've moved on, that you don't want them back, or that you've realized you're better off without them. They're staying silent because they'd rather live in the fantasy that you might still want them than face the reality that you might not. As long as they don't reach out, they can maintain the illusion that you'd welcome them back with open arms if they just made contact. The terror of rejection has them completely paralyzed. They're so afraid of hearing no that they're choosing the guaranteed pain of separation over the potential pain of being explicitly rejected. They're cowards who prefer certain misery to uncertain vulnerability. The emotional constipation crisis. They literally don't know how to express what they're feeling because they've spent so long suppressing their emotions that they're emotionally constipated. They miss you desperately, but have no idea how to translate that feeling into words or actions that don't make them feel exposed and vulnerable. Their emotional vocabulary is so limited that they can't figure out how to reach out without sounding needy, dramatic, or pathetic by their own standards. They're stuck in analysis paralysis, overthinking every possible message until the moment passes and they convince themselves silence is safer. They want to tell you they miss you, but they don't know how to do it without revealing the depth of their feelings, which terrifies them more than staying silent and suffering alone. They're emotionally illiterate when it comes to expressing genuine need or vulnerability. The self-punishment programming. Deep down, they believe they deserve to suffer for how they treated you, so their silence becomes a form of self-imposed punishment. They think they don't deserve to have you back after the pain they caused, so they stay silent as a way of accepting their fate and punishing themselves for their mistakes. This self-punishment mentality keeps them trapped in suffering because they've convinced themselves that reaching out would be selfish and unfair to you. They're staying silent not out of respect for your space, but because they believe they don't deserve forgiveness or another chance. They're martyring themselves through silence, wearing their suffering like a badge of honor that proves they understand they fucked up. But this self-punishment is just another form of self-centeredness, making their guilt more important than genuine communication or accountability. The fantasy preservation strategy. Their silence allows them to maintain perfect fantasies about what could happen if you reunited without having to face the messy reality of actually rebuilding trust and changing their behavior. They can imagine perfect reconciliations and dramatic reunions without doing any of the actual work those scenarios would require. As long as they stay silent, they can preserve the fantasy that you're the one who got away. The perfect love they lost through circumstances, rather than their own choices. Contact would force them to confront the real work of relationship repair, which feels overwhelming compared to romantic fantasies. They prefer the clean pain of missing you to the complicated work of actually doing better. Silence lets them be tragic heroes in their own story, rather than flawed humans who need to grow and change. The growth avoidance system. Reaching out would require them to acknowledge their patterns, take responsibility for their behavior, and commit to doing better. Staying silent lets them avoid the uncomfortable process of self-examination and growth that genuine reconciliation would demand. They're staying silent because contact would force them to face how they hurt you, why they hurt you, and what they'd need to change to never hurt you again. That level of self-awareness and accountability feels impossible, so silence becomes their escape from personal development. The brutal truth is they're staying silent because they're emotional cowards who would rather suffer alone than risk vulnerability, growth, or accountability. They miss you, but they miss their comfort zone more.